What's up? It's me. Welcome back. In today's episode, I'm going to show you guys how to make Mjolnir, Thor's iconic hammer, your very own at home. Now, this is not going to be an exact replica, but it's definitely going to look awesome. You can use this to cosplay, can use this for LARP, can use this for whatever you want, and it's actually a lot easier to make than you think. So let's get started. To begin, we're going to need a few supplies. First of all, we're going to need some cardboard boxes that are about the size of a computer box. I have one here in front of me. We're going to need some hot glue, some sort of foam, either craft foam or Eva foam. I prefer Eva because it's a little bit more durable. Some packing peanuts if you have them, some duct tape, a utility knife, some aluminum foil, some liquid, latex or epoxies, some sandpaper, some acrylic paints, paintbrushes, some black, puff paint, a blow dryer or hair dryer that produces heat, and a sealant. Now these are all the supplies that I used, but this isn't an exact replica. You could always add more details or even change the handle of the hammer. So first thing we gonna do is lay out our cardboard boxes and trace around the hammer. Now I did 2 tracings per piece, just so I have a little bit extra room to work with. And then I cut these out with the utility knife. Now what we're gonna do is set these aside and move on to step 2. Step 2, we're going to take our hot glue gun and glue the edges of the tracing together. Now when you do this, leave a small gap open right here. This will allow us to add some foam later on to make it nice and smooth. Let's see if I can explain this better. So we don't want it to look like this, but we want it to look like this. So after you glue everything together, put some packing peanuts inside of there, and then cover it with more hot glue. This is going to give us something to attach the foam to later on. Now once that's dried, we're going to move on to step 3. Take your piece of craft foam or Eva foam, whichever one you're using, and trace around the hammer. Now what we're going to do is take our utility knife and cut around the tracing. We're going to do this 2 times, once for the base of the hammer and once for the top of the hammer. Now you can see I added some more hot glue around the tracing to give the foam something to hold on to. Once you have both pieces cut out, go ahead and glue them down. Make sure you remove any excess amounts of foam that might be sticking out. And then once that's dry, we'll move on to step 4. Take some aluminum foil and cover the entire surface of the hammer. Now you don't need to worry about getting it perfect, but try to get most of it on there. This is just temporary, and we're only using it to mold the shape of the hammer. So once you have it covered completely, we're going to move on to the next step. Now I should mention that throughout this project, whenever you see me holding the hammer like this, that's only because I don't have someone to hold it for me. So please do not attempt to do this until you have had an adult supervise you. Alright, now we take our liquid latex or epoxy and apply it to the entire surface of the hammer. Now when you do this, you want to make sure that you get it nice and thick. That way you have a lot of material to work with. You won't worry about making mistakes at this point because we now be sanding everything down later on. But you want to make sure that you get a nice, even coating over the entire surface. Now, while the liquid latex is still wet, we're going to add some liquid latex to the tip of the hammer. Now, you don't have to do this part, but I think it makes the hammer look a lot better. Then we're going to take our blow dryer and heat up the hammer. Now, this is going to cause the liquid latex to shrink and tighten up. This is going to help the overall shape of the hammer. After you've heated it up, let it cool down and then repeat the process on the other side of the hammer. Once it's completely cooled, we're going to move on to step 6. Take some sandpaper and sand down any rough edges. You'll notice that some areas are thicker than others. You're going to want to sand those down as well. Now if you're using liquid latex, it's a lot easier to sand. If you're using epoxy, it could be a little bit harder, and you might need to use some acetone to thin it out. Now Now move on to step 7. Take some acrylic paints and paint the entire surface of the hammer. Now you can paint it however you want. I chose to do a silver base coat and then add a black wash to the bottom of the hammer where it would be cast in shadows. Now, before you start painting, I recommend putting a couple coats of primer on the hammer just to make the paint stick better. Once the paint is dried, we're going to move on to the final step, which is adding the puff paint. Now this is optional, but I highly recommend it. It really gives the hammer that metallic look. So we take our puff paint and add it to the tip of the hammer and then slowly drag it down. Don't add too much pressure because you don't want to mess up the paint underneath. Once you've added a line down the middle, we're going to add another line on the opposite side. And then finally we add a line that runs from the top of the hammer all the way down to the bottom. After you've added all your lines, we're going to take a clean paintbrush and add some baby oil to it. We're then going to rub the entire surface of the hammer. Now this is going to help bring out the metallic shine of the puff paint. Now this part is optional, but I recommend doing it. And then finally, we're going to take some sealant and cover the entire surface of the hammer. Now this is also optional, but I recommend doing it because it's gonna help protect the paint job, and it's gonna help make it last a lot longer. Now there you have it. That's how to make an easy. Like I said earlier, you can add more details. You can change the handle. You can do whatever you want. This is just a basic tutorial on how to make the main body of the hammer. Now if you want to make the strap that goes around the hammer, I do have a tutorial available. I made a complete cosplay of Thor a few years ago, and I have a ton of tutorials available for that. So if you're really interested in learning how to make Thor's belt or his braces or his boots, just search for them. They're all on my channel. But anyways, that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching. As always, please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.